Are you bored of a shitty bland diet that you would rather sandpaper your nipples off and pour salt and vinegar over them than endure another week of? How about we change that by encouraging you to include something you've probably been told to avoid by uneducated wallopers online for no legit reason? And I think it could be the difference between you bailing on your boring-ass, tasteless, unexciting diet and sticking it out for a few more weeks and losing a few more kilos. And these things are condiments. And when I say condiments, I mean sauces and spices. There's not a better name for them collectively, unfortunately. Condiments is a very posh name to call them. And in this video I'm going to explain why condiments aren't that bad and why they shouldn't be avoided, which goes against a lot of what other people say online. Also why they can be so important to include and not avoid, because they could be the difference between you succeeding at your diet, and also maybe why you need them. And finally I'm going to touch on the calories they contain and something to be mindful about. So sit tight my friend, because I'm an upstanding citizen to my YouTube and social media following, all 200 of you or so. I'm going to start by addressing the conflicting viewpoints. You've likely been told online about them, which will be along the lines of avoiding them for multiple reasons, including sugar is in them, can't pronounce the ingredients, our ancestors didn't use them, they're fattening, they're addicting, they've got preservatives in them, sodium, all that kind of shit. These things are usually said by plonkers sitting in the supermarkets right before they're closing when it's quiet, holding them up to the camera saying this is bad. What they should really do is do this at rush hour to see how people really would react to them. Imagine an old woman coming into the video saying, can you get my way so I can get my cheese please? And also, could you find a real fucking job? But anyway, I'm here to tell you, as always, this kind of advice is pointless and unnecessary. It's fear mongering, as they say, without any real evidence behind the claims. Let's look at this practically, right? A serving size for most sauces is around 15 grams, right? You can find that on the back of the label. And I weigh around about 80 kilos. The ingredients you take in from these serving sizes are so small, like the fearmonger's willy sizes. They're hardly going to matter, are they? Or make a large difference in your day. This is a perfect case of majoring in the minors, or focusing on the small pebbles in your life rather than the big rocks. You're basically addressing the wrong things. But if you eat a mostly healthy diet and are active, I don't think you should ever need to monitor your sauce intake unless you're a fucking lunatic. Obviously the fraction I mentioned earlier changes massively if you're a tiny 50kg short arse, but the point still remains. I don't remember anyone's cause of death being tomato ketchup. Do you? Sorry your son died. He had too much tomato sauce. And before you mention it, I'm going to address the calorie side of things in an upcoming point, so stay tuned. Let's just say it was bad for you, alright? Sauces are bad for you. So bad that they knock off a couple of years of your life. So you're now dying at 78 rather than 80, for example. What are you really missing out at that age? Watching Deal or No Deal or Antique Roadshow in your chair that helps you sit up whilst you wear your adult nappy in case you shit yourself. Sorry, my mistake. These are the best years of your life, I bet. Because 80-year-olds are notoriously known for pumping everything in sight, including all the young hot 25-year-olds, aren't they? Just like when they were 18. Real fucking Hugh Hefner. These whoppers are trying to save a couple of years of your life at the wrong end. All because you've chosen to eat boring-ass bland food instead of enjoyable foods along with sauces that are designed to make food a little bit more delicious. And of course they might say, it's about feeling well now. I doubt the difference between how you feel on your day is dictated by a couple of squirts of sauces, so give me peace. And as for spices that go in your food, all they are simple mix of herbs and spices. I wouldn't worry about. Some of them are actually good for you, but others might have some sugar in them and maybe even have preservatives in them, just to sweeten them up and give them a bit of a longer shelf life, which isn't a big issue if you think of this logically. And let me tell you something about preservatives as well. Say what you want about them, but they actually provide an overall benefit to society. They help transport our food and increase shelf life so they can be transported to places that don't have an abundance of food. Imagine taking like granola, an energy dense and somewhat nutritious food, to a place of poverty. Are these fucking idiots at the supermarkets recording themselves got to pop out the woods and say, wait, you can't eat that, it's got preservatives in it? I don't think so. Just because preservatives are found in dense foods doesn't mean they should be banished, especially when they can be beneficial in some cases. Calories are always going to be king, or queen, depending on if you're a snowflake. And yes, you should always eat 100% whole foods as and when you can, but restricting and banishing foods unnecessarily does more harm than good. But that's where I, and now you hopefully, differ from these muppets who stand in supermarkets and fearmonger you with false claims, and then they say, look at this word, you can't pronounce it, so it's bad for you. If you think a little powder that you sprinkle all over your meals or a squirt of sauce at dinner time is having that much of an impact on you, you should have a warning sign tattooed on your face, because what you're saying is you're that stupid, and it should also say, avoid me, I am a massive tit. And if you're consuming an amount of sauce that's bigger than a bathtub, then you have other problems to address. So why do I think they're so important for people trying to lose weight? For those who are trying to diet out there, what you don't seem to realise is dieting can range from being a minor inconvenience to feeling like you're going to get your leg chopped off, depending on your past experience, the diet that you're following, etc. You see fitfluencers online talking about following a diet and then failing it, like they've ran over their gran, all teary-eyed just because they ate an extra crisp. But really, it's just a bit of a pain in the arse for most of you out there. So wouldn't it be a good idea to try and make this pain in the arse time in your life a little more tolerable by lubing that bad boy before entering? There are things out there to make sex and dying a little bit easier to manage and follow. So why not use these kinds of things to your advantage, like lube and sauces, but just do not mix them up, which is why I think they are incredibly important in a diet. The sauce, that is, not the lube, because they do make an inconvenient time for a lot of you out there a little more tolerable, especially when sauces have the ability to increase your chances of sticking to the diet and increase enjoyment and satisfaction from a meal you maybe wouldn't before. I would go as far to say that you actually need them, because life without tomato sauce, sriracha and honey sauce, barbecue sauce, mayonnaise simply isn't a life worth living, friend. Especially when they could be the difference between you getting more veg in your life when you lather cauliflower and broccoli with them. They have the ability to hide the taste of vegetables that some people hate. And people will be asking, would you like some vegetables with your sauce, sir? Because let me tell you, the difference between me enjoying broccoli and cauliflower is tomato sauce. And to go back to talk about spices again, the thought of eating any sort of vegetables or rice without a bit of salt is enough to make me want to jump off a building. A little bit of powder goes a long way. Just look at drugs and pills. Not that I have any experience with them or encouraging you to take them. But eating veg without spices is like eating those salt and shake crisps without actually adding the wee packet of salt in them. It is absolutely depressing. So in January, right, it was apparently carnivore month. And who agreed to that? I have no idea. And you know what's ironic as well? It is National Keto Day on the 5th of January. And have they consulted each other? I doubt it. It's a Veganuary as well. And you see how all these people are idiots? Quite a busy, conflicting January, isn't it? And meanwhile, the month of January is going, I don't want anything to do with these fucking idiots. But because we're an all-inclusive society, there's also a day for gingers, which is the 5th of November, by the way. There's a dog day for the 25th of August, which should actually be every day. And even a National Thesaurus Day in January. Anyway, imagine you decide to go through the torture and the negative consequential choice of eating carnivore for a month, and then finding out you can't have any sauces or spices with it. Imagine doing that, or Veganuary, or keto, without any sort of condiments, and no wonder you fail your diet. Thankfully, I enjoy my food and life a little bit more, and you should too, which is why you should listen to me, because as I've said before, is a few servings of tomato sauce in total per day really going to make that much of an impact? I don't think so. You likely have other issues to look at first. Someone isn't going to go to you, you don't look well. Has your kid picked up something from nursery and given it to you? No, it's because of the serving the barbecue sauce I had last night. And here's another practical point. Hopefully. If I give you a diet for the next 12 weeks that doesn't have any seasoning or sauces, versus a diet for 12 weeks which includes both, which one are you likely going to enjoy carrying out most? I would go as far to say I could eat chicken, rice and broccoli, which is viewed as quite boring and bland to some people, 3 times a day for 30 days, if I had an abundance of sauces and spices to choose from. I would honestly give it a go if I didn't have a young family. So you can and should include them. And if you don't believe me, I've got an offer for you. I've made 31 emails to send you over 31 days to help you set up your own diet that doesn't fail. And all I need is your email address. And if it's not for you, all you have to do is unsubscribe. And you have nothing to lose here and everything to gain. Such as playing with your kids pain-free and making meals that you actually enjoy. And did I mention it's free? And the details are below. And on the flip side of this, I'm going to address a potential issue with these condiments. So despite me whacking off Heinz tomato ketchup bottles, there's a point to be made about the calories they contain. Much like calories in drink, sauces do contain them also, would you believe, to varying degrees. But personally, I don't think you should get to a point where you're ever measuring the amount of sauces and spice that you use, because you're not at that level, unless it's for an extreme reason like bodybuilding or needing to diet down for a competition. But I doubt any of those kinds of dudes will be watching this. And I still think that they shouldn't actually have to measure them. But it's maybe something to consider, because if you're drizzling your food with a bit of sauce each meal, you're probably fine. But if you're caking your food with sauce, or you have your own individual dipping bowl, you may want to look into that, because monsters contain 11 calories per can, which is nothing to worry about. But if you have 8 of them a day, those calories then add up. And 8 sounds like an absolute mental number, but I know people who drink that minimum a day. They must never sleep. And a couple of mints don't contain many calories, but if you have a whole tube of them or a whole bag of them, those calories then add up. The same goes for chewing gum, sugar in your coffee, milk, etc. All these things do start to add up if you have them constantly. And as always, being mindful of the amount that you're taking in is what most of you need to do. There are some sauces out there that I would blatantly avoid most of the time. Despite how bonkingly orgasmic Heinz Seriously Good mayonnaise is, it's 100 calories per 15 grams, which is absolutely mental. But for an alternative choice, you can get the lighter and the light mayonnaise, but there's only 11 calories per 15 grams. Yes, the light, sugar-free, low-fat versions don't taste the same, obviously, but we do need to find compromise, friend. Talking of serving sizes actually, I think you should ditch them and work on your own. And the reason being for that is serving sizes are just a guide, and quite frankly, usually pathetic sizes. But if, for example, you use a jar of sauce for your dinner, and it says, serving size of half of this jar is 250 calories, why not just cut that bad boy in half and have a quarter of it for 125 calories? Saving 125 calories to have a lightly less liquidy saucy dinner isn't too much of a trade-off, I don't think. So just before you drown your food in sauce and spices, just be aware they do contain calories, some more than others, but you can find alternatives like low fat and low sugar, so you can justify them a little bit more. And if you're currently trying to lose weight and it's not budging, maybe look at what you're throwing on your food in terms of spices and sauces, because that mayonnaise I mentioned earlier, you only need 30 grams of that, which is absolutely nothing to consume 200 calories. And if you depend on sauces on your meals, address it and swap in a few things could be all you need to do to shift a bit of weight. There's a lot of information to take in, but I do have those 3 emails that I mentioned, which you can find the details below. So now you've probably got your tomato sauce in one hand and barbecue sauce in the other, ready to jazz up your meals. You might be wondering what food you're going to lather those bad boys in, and it just so happens I've got a video right here that helps you with food prepping for your week ahead, so you can now add what you've learned today to what you thought were going to be boring lunches and jazz them up a little bit more to make them a little bit more exciting. Anyway, that is us done. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.